express my views on the topic Indian economy. How can it sustain the $1 trillion mark? Talk about the nation. I would like to begin with these few lines. जब जीरो दिया मेरे भारत ने दुनिया को तब गिनती आई, तारों की भाषा भारत ने दुनिया को पहले सिखलाई, देता ना दशमलव भारत तो यूं चांद पे जाना मुश्किल था, धरती और चांद की दूरी का अंदाजा लगाना मुश्किल था। सभ्यता जहां पहले आई, पहले जन्मी है जहां कला, अपना भारत वो भारत है जिसके पीछे है संसार चला, संसार चला और आगे बढ़ा, यूं आगे बढ़ा बढ़ता ही गया, भगवान करे ये और बढ़े, यूं आगे बढ़े और फूले फले। These wonderful lines by Bharat Kumar from the movie Purav and Paschim truly testify the DNA of India. Today, all of us standing in the 14th year of 21st century, a billion of us are looking forward to its prosperity. The indicator of prosperity today is the GDP of our nation. Currently, it stands at $1.842 trillion mark, which also tells us that unless and until our economy lapses by more than 40%, we are not going to be eliminated from this $1 trillion club. Suggesting that we have nowhere else to look other than forward. Looking forward, we are also going to face a lot of challenges. But at the same, we are also going to grasp a lot of opportunities. Opportunities of inclusive growth, opportunities through research and development, opportunities through innovation. Challenges ahead of us, challenges of consumerism. Still, 22% of our population today is looking forward to us to raise it above poverty line. Other challenges of a transparent government, the most important. Challenges to buck up our current and trade account deficits, challenges of internal security, corruption and terrorism. First of all, I would like to talk about public notion. Ma'am, in 1947, when my grandfather came from Pakistan, people were considered as liabilities, as burdens. But today, sir, there is a traditional change in this mindset. People today are considered as assets, as human capital. Gradually, today, India is moving forward towards demographic dividend. By demographic dividend, friends, we mean that when India, a nation as a whole will develop, the fertility rates, when the new windows of opportunity will open up, when India, nation as a whole will develop, fertility rates will fall down, literacy rates will rise, and all this would be possible due to effective policy making, effective implementation of that policy along with good market performances. People will have good roads to go to the world. People will have lights to study the night. People will have good education and health. So today, India faces a very critical point, either to leverage its demographic dividend or to face a demographic disaster. Being part of the nation's development, I feel technology has a very important role to play. 40 years back, ma'am, computers were seen as something very intimidating, something that reduces jobs. But today, India has a far more acceptance towards technology. India sees technology as something empowering itself, especially the infusion of internet with sectors like banking, telecommunication, and e-commerce, governance have reduced a lot of redundant work. I believe the perfect blend of technology, research and development with human capital will lead to emergence of a new skilled and knowledgeable workforce that would defy the constraint of rising population into an advantage and will be most beneficial to our manufacturing sector. Another thing today India feels a lot more comfortable in is globalization. As Indian companies are moving abroad, performing very well there, Indians feel globalization is something we should participate a lot more in. A very important opportunity that awaits India is collaboration of African countries. As this collaboration of African countries is going to take place, Indian companies have an option to grasp this market. This market is going to raise a huge demand for sectors like infrastructure, roads, railways, bridges, inland and offshore transportation, other sectors like Medicare and education. Not only meeting this demand in African nations, India is going to draw a lot of currency towards the nation. It's also going to generate employment, enacting our foreign reserves. Another hindrance in growth and investment prospects of developing nation is scarcity of capital. But India today, if the Indian companies are able to meet the required amount of return on capital by the investors, I feel that India is going to witness a lot more capital infusion into our economy, especially through foreign direct investment. The security calculus of India comprises 2.5% of our GDP. I'm talking about the defense sector. But before I put more light upon it, I would like to elaborate much more on the current account deficit and the correlation of defense imports with current account deficits. In 2012-13, our current account deficits have been $88.2 billion, 4.8% of the GDP, which are prospected to stabilize more in 13-14 to as low as 3%. But coming to defense imports in the last 3 years, it has been $38 billion, which means 43% of a current account deficit. Ma'am, I personally come from a city of a defense background, Dehradun, which has a very all-India famous Indian military academy, the largest laboratories for DRDO known as DEAL, and more than one ordnance factory in the outskirts. And I can safely vouch the fact India is very much capable of itself to meeting its defense requirements domestically. So doing so, India is going to raise demand, raise employment in defense industries. Enacting a foreign reserves, it's also going to grasp the international defense market for meeting the defense needs of other developing nations. Moving forward, another matter I believe today India's upbringing itself in is deepening of democracy. Democracy has been a bottom-up process. Indians very well realize today the power of having a voice, living in an open-minded society. Indians feel democracy has something embedded. But the major problem India faces today is the attitude of our politicians. Well, I'd not like to criticize much on it because it's a very negative process. Be it UPA, NDA or Third Front, give us a government that is at least accountable to the people, that has transparency, that believes in development along with justice. While the future growth outlook of India looks promising, India is going to face a lot of competitiveness from other rising powers like China, enemies like Pakistan, other powerful nations like America. To talk to them eye to eye, eyeball to eyeball, India needs to be internally strong. To be internally strong, India needs to be self-reliant. Believe me, ma'am, India is not self-reliant yet. To be self-reliant, India needs to adopt an inclusive model of growth. Inclusive model of growth means growth where the benefit reaches to every section of the society. Ma'am, India's growth rate is highly fluctuating. The major reason behind it is that India's growth rate is dependent upon the growth rate of only few developed states. States like Gujarat, Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra and Punjab. I believe upbringing of poor states like Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Orissa, at least to a national level of development, will consolidate India as a single emerging and more stabilized economy. I believe the vision of India for growth shall be that each state shall contribute a percentage towards the GDP of nation, the percentage of population that it holds. For instance, my friends from Bihar would here know Bihar has 8.9% of the population of the country. At least should give 10% of the GDP of the nation. Presently it's just 2.2. It's very sad. Moving forward, very important other sectors of India. This being a very broad topic of Indian economy, there are a lot of sectors which cannot be covered in these few minutes. But I must tell you, another very important sector of India, hard-working sector of India is labor. Labor, do we all know 93% of a labor sector is unorganized sector? They do not have social security, they do not have provident funds, they do not even receive their salaries in banks. Ma'am, India is still a young country, it has a good opportunity to devise a good labor reform, it is a good opportunity to devise a good old age pension scheme, so that when all of us grow old, we do not have problems of entitlement. We all can give stats. We all can say India is 9th largest in this, India is 7th largest in this. But focusing on TQM, the total quality management approach, aspiring to be the leader in whichever field India enters in, like Japan did after Hiroshima and Nagasaki, will gradually and automatically improve India's ranks in every sector. While moving forward towards the conclusion, I think it's high time that we choose. It's the time our economists and administrators choose. Either they need to stabilize the current $1.842 trillion economy, or they need to expand to $5 trillion economies in the next 6 years. I think it's time for us to choose. Either we choose the politics of cynicism, or we choose the politics of hope. Hope the young Indian economist has that one day all the economies in the world will measure their GDP in rupees. Hope that the visionary has, that one day that Indian economy is going to be the only world's most powerful economy in the next 40 years. Hope the young mill worker's son has in his eyes to defy the odds. Hope that this young kid standing before you today who believes that this economy has a place for him even. Hope in the face of challenges. While with these impeccable thoughts about my nation, my lovely nation, I would like to rest my speech by remembering this beautiful song by late Bharat Ratna Pandit Bhimsen. मिले सुर मेरा तुम्हारा, तो ये सुर बने हमारा, तो ये गुलिस्तान बने हमारा, तो ये देश बने हमारा. Thank you.